Guys, what's going on? It's Chamber here. Welcome back to another video. And now in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to boost your FPS in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now, I know that most likely by the time you are watching, the beta is out. I have a couple hours left in this, but most of this stuff will still be very relevant, especially when the game comes out. And I'll also do more tests, especially when the game does come out, to actually see if there's anything I need to update, and I'll do an updated video. Well, let's get right into it. Now we're going to start with the specs and stuff. So minimum requirements are an i5 2500K. So that is a 4-core, 4-thread unlocked processor. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about there. Windows versions. So Windows 7 is a minimum requirement. So they did the same thing that they did with Modern Warfare last year and World of Warcraft. They ported DirectX 12. This is not amazing. You will get definitely some frame skips through this, but it's not terrible. So what I will say is, if you have to be on Windows 7 for some reason, it's not going to be terrible, but I'd recommend Windows 10. Now, there actually is something about Windows 10 that I will get into a little bit later, but we're going to get into 8 gigs of RAM. Definitely would recommend 16, especially for other games also. And yeah, you're going to need a lot more storage. If you're low on storage, delete Modern Warfare as soon as you can, and just use all that storage for Black Ops Cold War. Your graphics card, they definitely, looks like they're pushing 4 gigabytes of VRAM. 2 gigs, I feel like you'd have a lot of struggles. I would definitely go with this. So 1660 Super is about a 1060-ish, maybe a little higher, I believe. And then a 580. That's about a 1060. So yeah, they're looking about 1060 level with there. 4770K, so if you have a 4-core 8-thread, so for an AMD equivalent, that would be something like a 3100 or 3300X. Alright, so when you're choosing your NVIDIA driver, you're going to want to beta and older drivers. Make sure you click GeForce RTX 30 series. It doesn't really matter, this doesn't matter, it will install the correct driver. You don't have to personally go through everything. One thing I would say, if you're on a laptop, you might just want to not click the notebook and click the standard one. Your GPU will not boost down as much. It'll boost higher for a lot longer. Now, standard or DCH. I know a lot of people have some issues with this. If you use DCH, you have to use the NVIDIA control panel through the Windows Store. I'm using the standard driver for here. That's what I'm going to recommend. Do recommend and certified. Now, for drivers, I was originally recommending 456.38. Now this one is before. This one technically does support NVIDIA Reflex for the Call of Duty, so Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Cold War, because this one was having crashes, but they have actually fixed it. This is the driver that also fixed the 30 series crashing issue, the 3080. I'm going to recommend 456.55 for this. And then for AMD drivers, we're just going to click 5700, 5700, 700 XT, yeah, submit. And for drivers, I'm going to recommend just the first one. Yes. I'm just going to recommend this one. If you really want to do the recommended driver, you can do that. I don't believe there'll be any much difference. You can try it out with whatever you want. All right, so now I'm in my control panel, and we're going to go over your NVIDIA control panel settings. Now, there's a lot of things you really don't need. We're going to first hit desktop. So when you first click on it, you'll have it looking like this. So I want you to click Enable Desktop Developer Settings. I disabled the notification tray icon and the desktop context menu. You don't have to if you personally want to. It's a couple things. These really do not matter, so you don't have to do any of this. It'll look fine. Adjust desktop size and position. Make sure that this is on display scaling, so if it's set like this, click down and see if you have a display scaling. If you don't have a display scaler, I'm sorry. Maybe you should honestly look for another monitor. But then no scaling, so that you can know that if you are forced display scaling, it will work. And then I recommend do not report. So now your screen will flash. Now all these don't matter. You can set your digital vibrance if you want. I like it at 50 on my monitor. And now make sure that you are in PC and you hit your highest refresh rate. And I do use NVIDIA color settings for full. My screen flashed, this screen flashed, and it's back. Hit yes. Now you'll see this new setting in here called manage. So it'll be on restrict access to GPU performance counters to admin users only. You're going to want to allow access to GPU performance counters and then hit apply. Your screen will flash. Don't worry about that. And now it's going to, I'm going to hit yes. And it will flash again for you. And yes, we are back. Now, for this will be clicked on auto select. For about 99% of people, just hit your graphic card. Unless you maybe have a really low and you have a high end CPU for some reason, but just go with your GPU. Now we are going to hit, and we're going to skip 3D settings for a second. We're going to hit adjust, and we're going to go performance. We're going to hit apply. Now we're going to finally go into this tab. And now I like to go from the top, from the bottom to the top. Virtual reality pre-rendered frames 1, virtual sync off, triple buffering off, threaded optimization, you want this on, especially in a game like Call of Duty. If you're playing a game like CSGO, you maybe want that off. High performance, you want this on allow, that's fine. This shouldn't matter. Shader cache, you want that on. Highest refresh rate, highest available, obviously. Then you want for OpenGL, this will be on auto select at first. You want this to be on GTX 1070 or whatever your graphics card is. Now, max frame rate, just have this off. Set it in game if you really want to have an FPS cap, but I would not recommend it. Now, this is a very big deal. This one actually won't really matter in this game because we're going to be enabling NVIDIA Reflex and that will overdo it. But if you choose not to use NVIDIA Reflex, go on and choose Ultra. This will actually be the best and it'll help lower the GPU utilization. But if you're playing other games also at all low settings, just put it on, hit apply. And now DSR factors off, GPU all, obviously. And then you're going to want to have all these off. I think the only one that normally stays on is gamma correction. Well, now we're going to turn it off. And now there's one thing I want to show you guys. So I know I said in my last FPS boost video about Fortnite, I actually recommended Radeon anti-lag. You actually want to have this off now. Now, this won't actually make any difference because in AMD's, in their blog post about it or first talking about it, you would actually see that this will not support it because it is a DirectX 9 and DirectX 11 only. Now, this is for games like CSGO, games like Fortnite, and all those, and maybe other competitive games like that, Valorant. Except we don't want that on. So this is only when you have a high, like you're all low, you're all epic high, the highest settings you can get. If you're in all low settings, you want to have that off. You will actually get lower input lag. Guy named Battle Nonsense made a video about it. I will leave that down below in the description below for you guys. Alright, so we're going to talk about a couple of things also, timer resolution and power plans. Now, if you watched my Fortnite video, you should have already seen these, but they're very important, and so I decided I'd go over them again. So the first one, set timer resolution service. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this file, then you're going to hit Windows E, program files, then you're going to hit paste. Now, as you can see, I pasted it in there. Then you're going to right click this install str set timer resolution.cmd. You're going to click run as administrator. It'll run it. Then you're going to hit services.msc. Now you're going to want to hit se or st. One second. You have to. Sorry, no, you don't. So you want to go to automatic or I believe, and then you're going to want to hit. So it will be stopped. You're going to want to hit start. Make sure it's set to automatic, and then you're good, and this will automatically start your timer resolution. Now, this is going to be the biggest one, so you can edit this with Notepad or whatever you want. Now, there's a couple of things. All right, so you can look at this. This will be the same thing as what I'm giving you in my folder. BCE edit / delete value, use platform clock. So these two right here are very important. So with these, you actually want to make sure, because with these, this will, as you can see, when intelligent standby list cleaner, you'll get, like for me, I get like 0.499. That's bad. That'll make your mouse not feel as good. You want this to be at 0.5. That's all you want. Don't think lower is better. No, this is the best one. So this will just be a laptop power savings. I still recommend, even if you're not on a laptop like me, to have it. Boot timeout 0. Sometimes people like it at 10. If you're dual booting, you're going to want to set this at 10. Disabling NX, boot screen, speed up boot up times, the Windows login. All these are just speeding up your boot up time, so you actually boot into your PC slightly faster. Disable hibernate. You don't want to hibernate. This can cause issues. Just if you're not using your PC, turn it off. If you are using it, keep it on. I mean, don't. This is the same thing as sleep. This can cause issues, especially like your RAM and stuff and like your page file. So you're going to right click, run as administrator, then press any key and restart. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Intelligent Standby List Cleaner. Now, I recommend Control-C and then putting this somewhere, maybe your program files, maybe program files x86, maybe wherever you want. I'm just going to throw it into my C drive, so right-click, refresh. Now, this is what you're going to do. You're going to right-click, create shortcut. Now, we're just going to throw this shortcut on the desktop, and then we're going to go back into this folder. Just rename it ISLC, Intelligent Standby List Cleaner. Now you're going to launch it first, and I want you to, if it's running, click stop. Now this will originally be 1024. I want you to look at your RAM. Now, as you can see, I have 16 gigabytes. Now, we want your free memory to be half of your current RAM. So if you have 16, I want you to multiply 1024 by 8. So for example, I can launch up and do 1024 times 8, and I get 8192. You can do the same thing for 16 if you have 32 gigabytes, or 4 if you only have 8 gigabytes. So I'm going to type in 8192, and then I'm going to make sure that this wanted timer resolution is 0.50. Hit start. Now in your startup programs, you're going to want to throw this shortcut in. I already have the shortcut in, so I'm just going to delete it. But then this will boot up at your startup. All right, so in your power plans, I know that there's a lot of things that you can do. There is ones that go, there's like the ultimate performance in newer Windows versions that you can add through a PowerShell command. This one's way better. This will make it so that your USB ports don't fall asleep. It doesn't slow down your PCI Express slots. So what we're going to do is we're going to Control-C, chamberspowerplan.pow, Control-V it. Then we're going to go back and we're going to run as administrator. Now, this will already say mine already exists. If you've already done this, it will say it already exists. And this will set it active. So you can check by doing power options, and then you can see Chambers Power Plan right here. Now we can actually get into the game. So we're going to load up BattleNet right here. It's very important. So, and then you're going to hit Blizzard button. You're going to hit Settings. Now, there's a couple things I recommend. When you hit X at the top, exit BattleNet. Especially when you launch a game, exit BattleNet. So the launcher's not even running, taking up your CPU. And this one, I recommend, so this will be checked, uncheck it. That's all you have to do for this launcher. It's an awesome launcher. And before we start the game, we're going to actually modify our config. Now, I'd recommend if you have 7-zip or somewhere else, maybe putting this literally just on your desktop, like copying it and pasting it onto your desktop so you have a backup in case you want to go back. So we're going to hit this. Now we have two configs. Now I'm going to use Notepad++ to edit this. I'd recommend that. So we're going to open this up. Now we're going to right click and edit this one. Then we're going to right click and you can open it in new instance. And now as you can see, we have two configs. So I'm going to right click, edit with Notepad, click, open a new instance. Now we have two open. Now there's going to be a couple of things I will say. You're going to want to modify a couple of things in here. So you're going to make sure you're in your player beta. So max FPS 0, max menu FPS 0. This will just make it unlimited. Smooth frame rate 0. You don't want that on. That kind of will add input lag. Sound occlusion, all these don't really matter. This is when you get to the important ones. So we're going to go through all of these. Make sure that your resolution is exactly what it is. Your refresh rate, keep that the same. And now we're going to go into graphics. Now, mesh quality, I recommend 0. Texture filtering, 0. Texture quality, put this at 2. Even though lower numbers are higher quality, it makes it look terrible. As you can see in my first gameplay video, I had it like that and it looked terrible. Now 0, then 1 for yes, 1 for yes. FX shadows at 0. Now these will be at like 512 or 256, I don't remember. Just have them at 128. You're not going to notice a difference and you'll get a slight FPS boost. The lower the layers, the higher your FPS will be. So 8. Then you're going to have screen space ambient occlusion disabled. Your anti-aliasing you want none. If you do happen, just do FXAA, even though I wouldn't recommend it. Motion blur, obviously you're going to want to have this off. Now motion blur quality, this would be like medium or high. Just set it to low, even though you have it off, just to make sure that if it does get disabled, you're not really going to notice it. Have subsurface scattering at 0. Back buffer count at 2. HDR display, if you have HDR, you can set it. I don't. SSR, screen space resolution, 0. Now this will be set at like, I think it's 0.9 it was set for me. Have this at 0. Actually, no, have this at 1. So we're going to right click, properties, read only, okay. Edit. And then I will scroll down until I see that one. You see, this is why I have to look over my stuff sometimes. You're going to hit 1. This will make you have a slight FPS boost. And then we're going to go back into a couple of these others. Now, all of these should be off by default. Now, auto cull radius, 1.5. Lower numbers are higher quality. After this, I start having like weird and it's super soft and it's harder to see. So light quality 0. And now volumetric light sample 0.5. It's the lowest you can go. Now, auto detect, keep this the same. Put terrain texture filtering quality at 0. Terrain tile update quantity at 8. Shadow preset at 3 because that equals very low. We don't want shadows. We want to be able to see people in this game. Now 0, 0, 0, and 0 for the rest of these. Now this is your NVIDIA reflex. If you're on an AMD graphics card, delete these. Don't have these in them unless they're already in here. I believe they shouldn't be though. Now for NV_reflex_ enabled, have this at 1. You want to have this enabled. And then you want to enable boost mode by setting it to 1. This will make sure that your GPU is at the highest boost it can be at. And now all of these are the same. You can do whatever you want with these. Now, do not touch worker threads. This is not your threads of your CPU. If it was, it'd be at 12 for me. As you can see, logical processors 12. Now, your driver, just have it on 456.55. And then this one is very important. Video memory. This was at 0.8, I believe. Make it 1 so it can access all of your video memory. And now just have this at 1 or whatever it is already. And now maximum pre-rendered frames 0. So now we're going to open up this one, this config. So this will be your config INI. This number is different for this, these numbers are all different for everyone. But we're going to right click and edit, and we're going to hit no. So this one will be slightly different. There will be a couple of things, but you definitely just want to compare them. And you want to make sure that they're all the same. So 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1, 1. Now, all these should be the exact same, except there's a couple at the bottom, I believe. For example, that are different. For example, you don't have a couple of like the worker threads and all that stuff. So we're going to hit no. And there's a couple of things I want to also talk about in this game. There is, so we're going to also make sure that you're going to right click your config.ini, make sure that they're both set to read only. I would not recommend setting all these other ones. And there's a couple things I want to talk about with this config. This config is a lot better than the one that Modern Warfare has. The one that Modern Warfare has is encrypted. So for example, we're going to actually open up that one. So players, we're going to edit with Notepad. And as you can see, there's a couple of things I do know, like this is your sensitivity. And then there's a couple of things lower. Like this is how you can set stretch res. And then your resolution is right around it. But that's irrelevant. Okay, So now that we're in the game, we're going to check out over a couple of things. For example, I'm going to recommend that you do check your sensitivity and all that stuff. So we're going to hit this. And as you can see, this might look slightly better. This might look different, as you can see. So this will not look as like Play-Doh-y in the game. I have all my sensitivities set. I do recommend instant for this. And then you can try relative or legacy. I like 1.33 for this. Then graphics. This is where it's important. FOV, 10. So the lower your FOV, the higher FPS will be. So maybe like 105 might be good for you. But I'm going to do 120. Unlimited. I like to do this, then hit apply, then do unlimited again. There is a texture quality of lowest. But as you can see, that makes it look very smooth. I don't like the look of it. I'm going to hit low. Now, all of these, just make sure they're all disabled. Now, this is the only one you're actually going to have enabled in this game. So, typically, I think it'll be on enabled normal. You're going to be on enabled boosted. And then you're going to hit your display adapter and be the correct one. And I would recommend manual. Now, something that most people don't recommend, restart your shaders. Just restart the installation. It's going to be very quickly. This will just make sure that they're all right for your graphics settings. Alright, so I know it may be hard to see. My capture card cannot pick this up. This is from my stream on Saturday night. I was actually using stretch resolution. So this is 1280 by 960. So stretch resolution does work here. I'm going to show you how you can do it so you can edit with Notepad into your actual config. I'm just going to do it in here. So you're going to want to modify this to the resolution you would like, whether that be 1440 by 1080. So you might like 1440 or 1280 by 960. It's whatever you want. I like 1920 by 1080, obviously, for 16 by 9. But if you're doing that, you want to make sure you hit 4,3. That's how you're going to need to set it. That's a very important thing. You're going to also need to do it in your config.ini file. So you're going to scroll down. You're going to hit the resolution that you prefer and 4:3. You can also do a 5:4, 16 by 10, 21 by 9, or 32 by 9, depending on your monitor or what you prefer. You cannot do like a 1:1, like 1080 by 1080. And now we're going to actually go into my BIOS. So you can get into your BIOS by right clicking. Then you're going to, so you'll see this shutdown button. Especially if you have like a 60% keyboard, you're going to hit the shutdown or sign out. You're going to hit shift, restart. And then you're going to hit troubleshoot, advanced options. Now you're going to see UEFI firmware settings. You're going to hit restart to that. This is very important. This is how you're going to get into your BIOS of your motherboard. Now, some of these settings will not, well, this one setting especially that I'm going to look for is not in the same space for everybody, but it's going to be where it is on my motherboard, and you can obviously do what you want with it. So, when you're in here, this is going to be like what other people on Twitter be like, this is how you get all your extra settings. So this will be, if you have not already done this, but I feel like you might have already, you'll load XMP setting, then you're going to hit XMP 2.0 or whatever your XMP profile is. If you're on a newer motherboard or a nicer motherboard, you'll see like XMP 1, XMP 2. I'd recommend XMP 2. If you're having trouble booting, do XMP 1, and maybe do odd, and then maybe just slowly decrease the RAM speed here. Now, I am going to load my custom con. I'm going to load them, so that's in this one. And as you can see, I can check them all. So, now we're just going to boot back. I also recommend, if you can, to disable all your other boot devices except for the Windows Boot Manager. And then, there's one other setting, actually. I'd rather talk about it than not. This will be in my AMD CBS CPU Commons Global C State. Disable that. This might be in advanced CPU options on Intel. Just make sure that's disabled. This will make it so your mouse doesn't feel good, feels better, and that your CPU doesn't like throttle down when it's not in use. This will make it all kind of stay at the highest gigahertz so that your mouse is a lot smoother, especially on the core it's in, depending on your USB controller. So one thing I actually did forget to mention. So for this game, the recommended Windows version is 1803. So you can actually check your Windows version by going Windows key and I, go into your settings. Then you're going to hit about. Now, as you can see, I'm on version 2004. That's the newest version as of right now. Definitely would recommend that you be on 1809. It says a minimum of 1803, But for me, I was actually having issues with this being stuck right here on your current timer resolution. So I'd recommend 1809 for you guys. Last COD was 1709. That is the best version for your mouse in Windows 10, especially as of for newer graphics cards. If you are on a 3000 series card, you're going to need 1803 or above. So just download 1809 if you're okay with losing a couple of features. Obviously, if you don't want to lose those features, just be on 2004 and do what you can with it. I will make a file for all of these different things that I would recommend and I've talked about here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hit the like button down below. Share it with your friends if they maybe need an FPS boost. Hit me up, follow me on my other socials, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.